I'm a student of music first, and to really be a student and to be a thorough student, I look to study as much music as I can. It's not just the tradition of jazz. Let's go further. Everything is connected. One thing that I'm inspired to do is to do kind of comparative work in music by playing with a variety of people. The concept for this project is really to visit these music scenes, London, New York, Chicago, and LA, trying to find how my own voice can fit in these different places. Because I never felt like I fit anywhere.
I've heard so many different styles of music. I heard a little bit of drum and bass. I heard a little hip hop. I heard a little jazz, influences.
He's doing a lot with beat makers who are a little bit alternative and who don't really come from the jazz lineage per se, but have obviously been really deeply influenced by jazz.
He makes music with a hip-hop feel. I've been hooked on Makaya's music and on Makaya's techniques. It's really cool to see Makaya around here in Europe and not just in America.
I can tell that there's so much going on in this music and that he's got, I'm sure, influences coming from parts of his life and his heritage that I'm not even aware of.
When people ask me where I'm from, to me it's always more about a story than it is about a location. I come from a multinational, multi-ethnic household. I was born in Europe and France. My mother's from Hungary, my father's American. My father's black, my mother's of Jewish descent. It's very much an immigrant story. Leaving one's home to go look for something different somewhere else. Using music as a tool to allow them to travel.
The Western world was very attractive because of meeting all the different people and hearing other people's music. I just felt that I would be able to see the world through the people that I met. I met my ex-husband, Steve McCraven, there. And basically, it was because of his influence that I came to this country.
Makaya.
From the time I was a baby, I had access to music. Growing up in a home of two professional musicians, I had the opportunity to be around a lot of people. There was music on all the time. There was practicing happening, jam sessions, and opportunities for me to play. My dad loves to tell us stories of how, when I was 2 years old, he'd sit me on his lap and just play and practice with my hands or whatever. That was just an amazing kind of community to be around as a young kid. People like Yusef Lateef, Archie Shepp. That's me with Marion Brown as a baby. When you're a kid, it doesn't really mean much in terms of, they're like their dad's friends and these guys are playing music. That's just what you know.
And my very special man, Alabama, Mr. Steve McCraven.
There's a whole history of Black American jazz musicians kind of resettling in Europe. When my dad first visited there as a young black jazz musician, he really thought it was an amazing place. The music he was making was really appreciated, and he had a lot of opportunities.
Right now we're going to introduce Mrs. McCraven and Makaya, who's sitting next to his father here. Mrs. McCraven comes all the way from a country called Hungary. And she's going to tell us something about the music from that country. Thank you very much.
So I am coming from Hungary, Budapest. I left about 10 years ago. And is there anybody who can tell me where is Hungary?
My mother is also a huge influence of mine, and she was an artist in a band called Kalinda. Her records were bringing music from different regions of Eastern Europe together and sharing of songs and cultures and melodies. So I've always been into Eastern European folk music. I do believe I'm connected to history that can be totally interpreted and expanded into my own vision. And that's why I always do refer to my parents. Those things that they did really are why I do what I do.
Bass, horns, guitar.
Okay, cool. That was your name.
Whatever Jeff says.
There's this myth about the recording being a document of what was happening and a keyhole view into what it was like to be in that room with those musicians.
So you're gonna make beats out of this? Like you're gonna go and flip it in Ableton?
Yeah, like flip it like straight into beats, but like kind of like compose something that like seemingly sounds like we knew what we were doing.
The amount that vanishes into mystery about what actually happened in that room kind of reaffirms the artist's vision and the artist's power. Like, they know. That's a trade secret.
Ready, set, go. First, what we're doing when we improvise, we're starting with chaos and we're creating something organized from it. I think there's something really special in that moment of discovery. It's like everybody's trying to figure out where each other is at and what's next, or you're second guessing yourself. But then something might happen where, like, boom, all of a sudden we're at the same place. That moment can be really fleeting. A sound or a confluence of notes, like everybody played this one thing together, and it's just like, oh, that is like such a beautiful resonance. How do I get that into this sequence? And this is the same with the loop. You know, when like, thinking about watching a movie, like an action flick, and like something happens and like the car explodes and like flips through the air and like everyone's like, oh, turn it back, turn it back, turn it back. And you rewind it, you know? And then you like play it again. And it's like, you get, that's like a loop, you know? Like, it's like that part, I wanna hear that again. I wanna hear that again.
I know that when I first heard Makaya McCraven, I thought it sounds like the babble of strangers in the city. You walk down the street and you hear all these voices doing their thing, and you don't know those people, they're not familiar to you, they're kind of new, but it feels good to be immersed.
It's funny because for me, making music in my home studio was always like a hobby. You know, this is like presenting like my little bedroom diary. Improvise within our vocabulary of the musicians, then I'll flip it, and then we can pass it on to another person who can flip that, and then that could be reflipped. So it's like layers on layers on layers. I like to find more creative ways to like pull up a fifth or sixth dimension out of the music. The band is smacking, we sound tight. But I really want to hit a different note in a way that we're crossing out of just listening to just a sweet band, but we're listening to something that's been recontextualized through production. Voila.
It was kind of funny. It was never the intention to like put out a record that Makaya had post-produced and chopped and turned into kind of more beat music. We kind of thought we were just capturing these free sessions that we were going to put a record out of. But months in, all of a sudden, Makaya started sending me these like edits he'd been making from the recordings, and I was like, "Whoa, you know, this is the thing. Obviously, this is the thing." We don't like chart out a whole plan for a project from the beginning and then execute. That's not how we roll. Makaya is very much flying by the seat of his pants. He's improvising his way through life, and that's something that he and I have connected on from the beginning, is we're both just constantly changing plans, morphing, evolving, and like adapting to new situations. We just started making recordings, and we're like, let's just see where this goes.
I mean, that's what improvisation is, you know? I mean, we're improvising now. We're in a hotel room about to catch a flight back to New York and answering questions about what we do. That's improvisation.
Approach it as a journey.
Yeah, keep walking on the coals, you know, until you can walk on them and not feel the pain, you know? Learn how to communicate in different situations. I think he ran an idea by Brandy. She said, Makaya wants to do something. And I was like, cool, that's my man. I, you know, set it up. You know, I kind of wanted to just show up and play.
You know, the classical in me is like, so what are we going to play? Can you send me music? He's like, we're just going to vibe out, Brandy.
Most of the records we put out were made in front of live audiences or in unique recording atmospheres.
That's something that you don't hear anymore, is just a live recording.
Here's an opportunity to bring some musicians together. So like, this is the only time they might play together.
You're kind of documenting their first and maybe only meeting.
I love hearing the imperfections and hearing the room sound. And
we kind of would do things with the microphones to try to get that blendy, blurry, vibey sound that you normally don't end up with in a studio.
When we can create like an ambiance, a feeling in a room where everybody's connected or like feeling something, that enters the music. It becomes part of the energy in this unique moment.
Volumes, bro. We got volumes. It's very.
Yeah, let's do it.
They're awesome. Drums are always the site of great innovation in terms of the change of idiom. Always happens through what is the drummer doing.
Drums is very fundamental, and the drums come all the way from Africa, as well as hand clapping and a lot of things we do and we take for granted.
And the drummer has a lot of power in an improvising ensemble. The best ones are ones that can wield that power while simultaneously being very sensitive to what people are trying to say.
Playing with Makaya was great. You go through so many different phases in one go.
They all make you move and dance in a different way. We went into like this dub groove and I was like, deep, we're here now, okay. 3 hours earlier, we've been like swinging hard. It's all part of the same thing.
If we've played something for a long time, maybe it's time to move on. You know, like, okay, scramble it up. Let's start over. Let's find a new thing. What I really want is like somebody who can shapeshift with me.
Besides Hungarian folk songs, I remember a great fascination with jazz. Which was dismissed as imperialistic and capitalistic and something that we in a communist country shouldn't listen to. My fascination with jazz, of course, continued, and I started to improvise, and that changed my music around a lot.
Makaya McCraven, my son, on drums, Jake Last on piano.
Some of my first gigs with my original band were with my mom. When we were like 13, my mom was like, "Oh, you guys sound good," and then would say, "Hey, I got us a gig." And my mom would do her thing and we would keep up.
Yes, greatest fun at this age of my life is to perform with my son Makaya, who became a great drummer. Playing with him and with his friends brought a lot of new energy and creativity to my life.
I recorded with Makaya years ago here in Chicago. It was one of those sleepless nights of doing like 3 gigs in a day, and then Makaya was like, "Wanna come over and record?" And I was like, "Sure, it's 11 o'clock at night." But we did it. We moved the harp downstairs in his house, and we recorded a Hungarian folk song, and his mom sang.
Jaj, mondtam neked, Sanyi, ne menjünk mi Pestre, babámé. Ó, de sok a puly a lelkem, Sanyi, de sokat kell dolgoznia.
There's a recording of it. I have it.
Was that the one that I played bass on it? Did you overdub?
I don't remember.
Because I recorded a Hungarian folk song that his mom wrote too.
It kind of all boils down to like guidance to me. Not education, not being taught, but just like I'm gonna share every single thing I come into, and that does ripple out. We're not on this planet to like work, to make a living, to not be able to like fully engage our consciousness, you know. We're here to do what we're here to do.
I feel like we can't really be our best unless we're actually positively influencing not just people, but everything in the environment. So it's that transcendent identity, though.
We're universal beings.
Because it's like,
Y'all having a good time though. Y'all having a good time. Word. You want to hear one more? Are you sure y'all want to hear one more? Because we don't know no more songs. We just making this shit up.
Which means we can play forever, theoretically. Oh man, you shouldn't have told him that.
1, 2, running up on who? Here freestyling, I don't know what to do. But yo, I'm running, you could spell it. There's a dude in the front and he's dressed funkadelic. Whoa! Make these rhythms hit be unclear. Yeah, this politics won't run here. Let me make one thing clear. We don't want Donald Trump to come here. But sure hell, son. But Makaya McCraven is well welcome. And I'm an African. We want to give the ugly white dude a travel ban. Oh, on some next shit. You can't even guess it. We keep the place shaking like Nesquik. What the world needs is more love and less Brexit.
I've always been a little bit of an outsider. The outsider that is good at like kind of hanging out with everybody. This being like a really distinct part of like who I am, not feeling bound to a place. Like, you know, people ask me about being from Chicago. I'm not from Chicago. And so like in a world now where borders are going up, it's increasingly difficult to be an international person. I would love to highlight that we're all more similar than we are different. I want to celebrate where we're from and who we are. The beautiful thing about culture is that we can share it. By collaborating with musicians across boundaries, I feel like we can at least exemplify a world where we all are working together and we're communicating together. Culture and art can surpass that. You guys got all that?